Gentlemen, welcome to our lovely new meeting space for the next 3 months. It is, isn't it? There's pop machines out in the front and stuff to satisfy all the needs. I think this will be where we have our pizza meeting in December, so it works out well. I'll get us next. What's that? Yeah, there's a maker lab. If any of you want to see our display, it is directly beneath us downstairs. So feel free to go and have a look. Now, one thing was, I had said we were going to empty it out. We're not. What happened was she says she can't get the key. Have a seat, Steve. It's okay. She can't find the key for the lock, so it's not lockable. So she was worried if we're concerned about the not being locked. I'm like, if anyone, I spoke on our behalf, if anyone needs that model kit so much that they have to steal it, then they needed it more than whoever built it, is what I figured. And the room is locked. So I don't know how much security you have at home for your models, but I'm pretty sure this is sufficient. So if you ever want to grab it, let me know. We'll make arrangements for you to come and snag it. But the feedback is every day it's positive. She says, I get comments 6, 7, 8 a week. People come in to use the collab space, and it actually influences them with some of the other stuff. Can I do something like this? So we've got some new members that have been contacting us because of it. But yeah, it's a big hit downstairs. So I'm leaving my stuff. I was considering swapping a couple of my tanks out just to change it up a little bit. If anyone's interested in something like that, let me know. I will facilitate that. Based on current events, I might have more free time available. So Devin and I might be building some extra model kits. Take the 8 to noon shift. It's much better, right? So, so anyway, here we are. Based on our agenda, I've got nothing to report from National. We haven't met. I've delayed the meeting until Monday. We do, I will say we have a candidate for secretary, which is great. Somebody else is stepping up to help with the exec. Again, we're looking for a treasurer. If anyone's interested in joining us on the executive level, our treasurer is pulling the pin after 40 years. I think we're going to need about 3 people to replace them. And I'm not being facetious. The volume of work they do is such that we'll need a few people, but we'll do some outreach. But if anyone's interested in participating on the national executive, you know, let us know. And we'll see what we can do. Other than that, I think that's about it. We had our regular scheduled meeting for our show. We've got the quote for Fanshawe. It's good. It's the same, pretty much the same price as last time. So based on value for money, it'll be great. What was really nice is she said, and once the contract is signed, she goes, I will make sure that the temperature is adjusted properly and that we'll figure out how to keep that garage door from setting off the CO alarm and letting it stay open. So those were our 2 biggest complaints. The others were food, but the restaurant on campus will be better equipped to handle us in June. They're making sure of it for us. There's no construction, so the parking issue is even better. So we're looking forward to that. Bill Dawson is our sponsorship slash, what is it? He's our money grubber, for lack of a better term. President for life of the show, Peter, is soliciting. So anything you want to report, Petey? What's that? You didn't read the fine print. Anything to add to the show at all, or?
Not really yet. And the fact that we're starting to get things into gear.
I'll hold it. Keep going. That's it. You're good?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to mention the theme?
We'll mention the theme.
Tell us what the theme is.
Bird of prey.
You hear him? Bird of prey.
Oh.
Because the calling, Fanshawe Falcons, we went with bird of prey. Think about it, Fort Falcon, Honey Falcon, Eagles, Petrel,
Bulkies.
Firebird, Falky. Fury. And Millennium
Yeah.
Falcon.
Yep.
Yeah. So, that's our team. That's awesome. Anything else, Petey?
Nah, that's pretty much it at the moment.
Okay. Thank you. Bill, you don't get to talk because you're not chair anymore, so you're just the money guy. So anything else? We've got the theme. Nope, we're good. So, yeah, that's moving forward, feeling positive. I did solicit for some feedback in the States. We don't have a lot of competition that weekend either, so we might feed into the market a little bit down there. Club shows, again, seem to be on average about 15 to 30% less. So the COVID high is a bit less, but we still run one of the largest shows in Ontario. So you know, and I think we'll have a good time. So that's our show committee meeting. If you're interested in volunteering, just reach out to us on your executive, join up. We'll be grabbing as many people as we can the day of the show or before the show, but yeah. Gesundheit. Good. So tonight we're going to do our very brief, short, not too long table. We do not have our treasurer here, so there's no 50-50 draw. So we're just going to do a quick what's on the bill table. And then once we're done that, we will run right into Ron, Bits and Bytes Tucker, with his demonstration of miniature fig painting. So we will have a camera set up here and you can see the monitors all around. We'll be able to provide that. So Ronnie's brought in some material for us to take a look at in some of his more disturbing builds recently. Yeah.
You want to come up and have a closer look when I do this, because it doesn't create state well to the camera. You may want to do.
Yeah, maybe bring some tape. Yeah, we'll move it over. We'll take a 5-minute pause. We'll take a pause after the display table, just to have a quick look, see, take your kits out of the way, and then this will be even safer, right? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. It's yeah, it's like let's make a deal. All right, first up, well, do you have pictures, Stuart? Oh, wow. I was just doing left to right, so I figured black would be up first.
Wonderfest, yeah. And it just languished over the summer and I finally finished it over the holidays.
All right, we're gonna have you start, Dave.
Okay, sure, that's fine. So the first one on the table here is my Wonderfest Galileo mashup challenge that they had this year. I didn't get it done in time for Wonderfest in June, but I kept plugging away at it a bit, and the summer's been a bit slow for hobby stuff like it usually is. So over the Thanksgiving weekend, I took a final run at it, got it done there. So the idea was to take the Galileo shuttle kit from round 2 and turn it into some other iconic vehicle of some kind. So I chose the Volkswagen Porsche car carrier that was around in the 60s. It had a Porsche racing car on the back, and it was a Volkswagen bus that had been extended on the back with a flatbed. So I went kind of with that theme, and there's 3 shuttles mashed in there. And what happened was I 3D printed all the nacelle end caps for the big shuttle. I 3D printed the support arms for the big shuttle. What else did I do? I 3D printed all the stuff for the warp core that's on the little racing shuttle with 4 warp nacelles. It's got some heat sinks that I found at work they were tossing out. So I made a bunch of stuff to go on there to make it look kind of like some kind of a crazy giant warp core with huge heat sinks on it. And then I had decals I got. Some of those I actually got at Wonderfest. A lot of Gopher Racing decals on there. A lot of weird Southern sponsors like Stinky's Shrimp Shack and stuff like that. So I thought it'd be pretty funny to put that on a Star Trek shuttle. So there's all kinds of weird local little businesses on there you can take a look at and see. And then sitting next to that is a little Japanese Defense Force, little like armored vehicle sitting there, a little ground vehicle. I got roped in. I saw Frank was participating in this online build they had. It was the Plastic Posse was doing this. You had a month to build any 48 scale Tamiya kit. So I went and found this at a local hobby shop in Mississauga while I was working down there remotely. Started working on it. Of course, I can't leave anything alone. So I gave it a racing theme because that's kind of my thing. I've got a real love for racing in these last few years again. So that's kind of a passion that's been rekindled for me. The Komatsu decals are on there because Komatsu builds these things for the Japanese Defense Force. So I figured, why not? So I found a guy on eBay selling Komatsu decals for anything from like 164 scale up to like 124 scale. So I use a couple little tiny decals off of that, and the rest is just stuff I had kicking around in my spares box for sponsors decals and whatever. A little weird gorilla with 3D glasses in the front was from Industrial Mechanica, that decal sheet they had years ago. And then I did a little base for it. I used some of the AK groundwork stuff. The next day when it dried, it kind of cracked the way it looks. So it was kind of a happy accident. I wasn't intending that, but it looks really cool. So I gave it a couple washes, did some bit of the ground stuff you can get for gaming miniatures and stuff at what's a gaming shop here in town? Game Chamber, that's it. So I'm always buying different colors of stuff in there because those little tufts of grass are really handy for doing this kind of thing. So I whipped this up real quick. And that's it. I got it done in time. I think it was the day of I got it finished and submitted photos to the guy that runs the group, but John Bonani, is that the guy?
Yeah. Lot got it in before the deadline of midnight.
Yeah.
160 collectors.
Yeah, that's pretty crazy. So yeah.
Completed.
Yeah. And then sitting next to that, there's two little black things, and I have some here. I made little miniature miter boxes. I got a little tiny one and just a small one here. So I made these up and 3D printed a bunch. So if you want to get them, they're 12 bucks each. You can get both sizes for 20 bucks. So I figured that'd be a handy tool. I'm always needing little miter boxes like that. So I figured, why not share it with everybody? You can either use a razor saw with it or just like a scraper razor blade and put your piece of plastic in there, just push it down and it'll just cut it straight and give you a 30, 60 or 90-degree angle. All right, that's it.
Thank you. Eloquently done. The boat, the bateau.
Oh. Yes. The boat there is a model of a tug, steamship tug, side wheeler, as manufactured by Thornycroft in England back in 1916. This particular model is multimedia. It has some blue styrofoam. It has some card foam core. It has cart, and it has Foodland flyers all joined together with water-based varnish. Household paints and some little bits of wood to finish off the wheelhouse on the top. And hopefully from 20 feet, it looks like a should do. It's called standoff scale. It'll have a few more bits and pieces added, thing. And right beside it, let's
The other
do
ship.
that's okay. Yeah, okay. That is a Liberty ship. That was my summer build, and that's what got left in a hotel room back out east somewhere. And I got it back. I was surprised to get it back, but it is the Liberty ship, and it's got multicolors. It's got 5 colors on it. As you can see, you can probably count them. It's got 3 shades of gray. And that's it.
Right on. All right, Stuart, what's next, laddie? Ronnie. Hey, on with the Ford. Yeah, that Ford mule.
Okay, there's a couple of 3D printed figures that I did. The tall lady there is she's called the Domina, and she is a demoness. Anyway, that was a fun one to paint, to say the least. And then next to it is the fellow on the poor horse is called a Grove Pastor. And he is obviously diseased and has gone insane. And I can just imagine the clatter and noise he would be making going down the street with all those bells ringing and him pounding on that gong and probably screaming and shouting. But anyway, that was a fun one to paint too. And in both of these models, I used a lot of paint markers for doing the majority of the painting on them. So that's some of the stuff I'm going to be showing in the demo later, is how I went about that with the markers and everything.
Nice. All right,
Yeah.
next up. Oh, Peter's got three here. Petey, po Petey. Oh, yeah, no.
Okay. First kit's machinist Krieger kit of the Custer. It's 1/35th scale. It's by Kyoto / Arpla. Arpla does the actual design of all the parts and everything, and Kyoto does the production run of it. It's a straw army. Just anyways, it's a nice little kit. The two main hull parts were a bit of a pain because they have that one type of joint that I absolutely hate, where it's like an L notch and a reverse L notch that interlock with each other, and it never seems to fit quite right. Always seems to leave a gap. The only other problem with it was the instructions at times, which seems typical with the Artpla kits and the Hasegawa. Trying to figure out where precisely something goes. Sometimes you've got to really play around with the part to see where it actually fits, because their instructions sometimes are just so vague in areas and hidden. That one there is the Hasegawa one. It's of the same series, the Melusin or Melusin, or yeah, Melusine. 35th scale as well. Nice, simple, easy kits. You know, about 50 parts. The other one had over 130. They used a combination of, actually, no, that particular one I actually used the Hasegawa decals for the most part. There were a couple. The numbers I think I used were from Gundam kits, but it went together well, nice and simple, and fun little build. That one there is one of 7 kits that I picked up at Torcan that was on a guy's table, already built, but obviously he had used tube glue back in 30 or 40 years ago when he picked up the kit. And so these are basically rescue kits. This is the first of the 7 rescue kits. Some were the large size, some were most were the mini collection ones that I didn't have. I should have really picked them all up. They're cheap enough. And once I cleaned it up, did the paint job the way it's supposed to be, and I'm not keeping that stand. I just got to put it on an actual stand where I'll have all the Galman ships on, and that's pretty much it.
Cool. Thank you, Peter. Who's next? Oh, yeah, for those of you that are on the Zoom call, my apologies. I forgot to bring the power cord for my laptop. So if we suddenly go black, that's on my fault, but we're still recording. So you can pick up the rest later. My apologies. 1,000 lashes. For the white.
Like that too much.
I know I would. Who made? There he is. Yeah. There you go.
Hey, don't make a face there, Jeff. That's your kit. Yeah, that's your kit that I got at the our swap 2 years ago. Thank you. This is a Italeri 172nd A26B with the nickname For Pete's Sake. From what I read, the pilot's wife's nickname was Pete, so the plane got For Pete's Sake. It's a B model with a modified nose with 6 machine guns in the nose and another 8 machine guns in pods on the wings, and was used for ground support. And also in the 45, it was on missions to take out the V1 and V2 rocket launcher sites in France on the way to Germany. It's all done in Alclad paints. Nice little kit to put together. Only problem was the engines aren't very detailed and they're set way too far back in the cowlings, but that's okay because the engines don't look good anyway. So that worked out in my favor. I used Alclad paints for most of it, and Duncan mentioned to me I should try Mr. Color, a silver paint. And I used it on some of the bare plastic, and you can't tell the difference between this Mr. Color and the Alclad. It's really, really great metallic paint. So I'm going to keep experimenting with that for aluminum finish jobs.
Thank you, George, for introducing us to your experimental phase. F-18, where that goes. Kevin?
So it's an EA 18, so it's the Growler version. Italy 148. Picked it up cheap at one of the shows for like $25. Figured just to give it a go. I'm just trying different weathering techniques. It's all done in Vallejo with some oil and Flory wash. Next one I'm going to do is probably a 132, something I'm looking at for the show. So now that we know our theme for the show for the London one, I can feel free to take a look. Let me know comments. Again, just trying to get the aspect of weathering off the real ones. And if you look closely, I got some handprints in there, some boot prints simulated in 148 scale from some stencils and stuff. So they're all painted on into the washing and all that. So let me know your comments and see how it looks. Thanks.
Next. Who brought in the wee car? There we go. You brought in 2, right, Tim?
This is a Monogram Ultimates kit. They came out in 1989 or 90, and they had a 289 Cobra or a Corvette. I meant to get both of them, but I just got the Cobra. 1/43rd scale, so I thought I better work on this before my eyesight goes. There's a lot of photo etched with it. There's photo etched wire wheels, photo etched part of the steering wheel, the instrument panel, and a whole bunch of other little things. So obviously it's not finished. I got excited building the chassis and the engine and all that and forgot to start to paint the body. So I'm a little behind in that. So I just have the first coat of rough color on the body. I'm not sure I like the blue, but it might work. Anyways, it's a lot of fun. And then the other one I brought is, a 1940 Ford. I think that's a Monogram kit also, just basically out of the box. I used Tamiya spray can for it. It's actually a navy color, US Navy medium blue, but I really like the color. And spraying it on, there's a couple of spots, 3 little spots where I had problems, and somehow the paint bubbled, and I wasn't really able to sand it out, but they're in inconspicuous spots. But so what I thought I'd do is I just added some rust to them, and now they look like little rust spots. So if you look really closely on the right-hand side of the front of the hood, the right front fender at the bottom, and the left rear fender at the bottom, there should be tiny little rust spots. So I just, and then the only thing extra I did on it was the bare metal foil down the side.
Next. Is that you again, Dave? Pickup truck? Oh, Mikey, that's right. Michele, andiamo.
Thank you. 1/25th scale, 1960 Chevrolet Apache. Um, brand new, right out of the box, warped frame. So what do? You know, so I got a little torch that I have, and I literally didn't melt it, but heated it up pretty good and got it almost straight. And then I did a little bit of research to see what colors they used in 1960 and came across the GM color codes. And that is a pearl green with the ivory. And had kind of fun working on the box because you had to mask it so many times, inside, outside, and it was quite a piece of work. But it was fun to build. It was good. Thanks.
Oh, yeah, the wall.
I forgot I built that. That piece is my practice piece with Ron's give me a fantastic tutorial how to do up these little dioramas. And this is practice for what we're going to see next is a tank. And it's just I'm flabbergasted that you can take just basic foam board using leftover bits and pieces from Ron's previous works, glue them together. My memory fails me, was stippling was some of the one of the techniques you were trying to teach? Stippling. Even though I sat there and watched them do it, I still had to fight my tendency to brush instead of just stipple. But I was really pleased with the way it turned out. It's just amazing. There's like 5 paints and some glue and baking soda. There you go. And that's my tank. It's a stealth tank. Russian winter scene.
Excellent groundwork.
Thank you. It's an Airfix. I had it in last month under construction. It's the Airfix 176 Cromwell 4, if I remember correctly. Out of the box. Some weathering on it. I must say it felt rather strange for someone that likes to lightly weather the aircraft to be instructed how to throw mud at it. No, you're talking to the wrong guy, but they're in one piece out of plastic. Is that? Thank you.
I built it too. It did a good job because that top decal is a bear. So that the insignia on the top is, yeah, I had a hard time with mine. I have the same kit. That's good. All right. We're good. That's it, eh? All right. So because of, yes, George? Model Master Acro, Cam wants to see you. Talk to you about a German Shepherd. Yes, go ahead, Cam. Yep.
Of every month at the Byron Legion. Few of us show up. It's in the basement there, 7 till 9. Everybody's welcome. Come on out if you want to. The bar is open. Not specifically for us. There's other Legion members there. They usually have darts going on and all that kind of stuff. Usually we're in the back room, but this month, because it's November, they use the back room for poppy counting. So we'll be in the main lounge with everybody else, but we'll have a few tables off into the corner all by ourselves. That's what we want to do. We got a pretty good crew coming out. So if you guys want to come too, please come along. It'll be Thursday, the 7th of November. Oh, and my Wargaming Club is having an open house on Sunday, the 3rd of November. For those of you guys who are follow my group on Facebook, you'll already know about it and have received an invite. But yeah, everyone, if you're interested in coming out for a war game, it's going to be a tank on tank scenario. I'm predicting it's going to go pretty quick. So if you don't want to hang out all day, it should be over in 2 or 3 hours. Everybody's welcome to come for that too. If you don't know me on Facebook, hook me up on Facebook and I'll connect you with the group to give you all the details if you're interested.
Thank you, Cam. Oh, Good.
I don't know how many of you follow Richard, the former owner of Brockville Hobby, but he posted on his thing that Brian passed away. Brian was the older gentleman that you'd sometimes find hanging out in the shop, railroad guy. He passed away of a heart attack a couple of days ago. Yeah, Brian Tustin, October 10th, following a heart attack. So I've got no information on memorials or anything like that, but just Richard posted it to his Facebook, and his is in a private account. Tustin. Tustin. Yeah, you'd find him. He was like the older guy that was sometimes sitting at the back. Railroad guy, really nice guy. Really nice guy. But yeah, he passed away on the 10th. Richard posted it, I think, yesterday. Yep.
Thank you, Stuart. All right, we'll take a couple minutes. If you want to take your builds from the display table, and then we can just move the tables closer for folks to get closer to Ron to watch his demo. The chairs all have wheels, so just boot scoot. We'll take 5. We're doing good, Ron. 7:30, buddy.
Oh, yeah.
8 Central and 9. I apologize again. Haven't had a fun time. Sorry.
And when are you likely?
Well, the strike vote results will come out on, they close on the 17th. So
we
we'll
know what's
probably,
gonna happen.
we know any, oh, it's gonna be yes. Then the union required to give notice to the manufacturer. That's another couple days. I think there's they have to set notice, we get 72 hours. Probably by next week. This is all the teaching. This is all teaching. It's 110. 110 only about teaching. 109 is the set. No.
Yeah, so was I.
And then,
Quite not taking it, actually.
I predict. Learning outcome, then they're considered fine. We had that with COVID, right?
Yeah.
So we're
Hey, Kevin,
14.
Yeah.
We're at 50.
can you hear me, Kevin?
We're into week 8, 9.
Yeah.
We've hit that.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
There you go. You're muted, Kevin. If you look right over there.
I'm- Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yeah, there we go.
Yes.
See that pallet box
Hey, Kev.
right there?
I see that pallet. Yeah.
Your stuff's in there for the show.
All right. I will see you up there.
Yep,
The show, which show?
Wellington.
Oh, the
Welcome.
Fergus, the one in Fergus?
Yeah,
Where is that?
Sunday, the 27th.
This month?
Yep.
Okay, maybe I will go.
Yeah.
I only know the AirCap count. It's
Yeah,
this
that's
weekend,
this
right?
Saturday.
Yeah.
And I'm working on the entry right now.
I was wondering what that is.
You see
What is that?
Like this here.
So, wait, give me a second.
USB-C, yeah.
I have
Right?
this huge mecha right here.
Okay.
That is
Yeah.
huge.
And I need a base for it. It's like a diorama from the movie
Uh-huh,
where he steps on this pyramid.
uh-huh.
So I'm building this pyramid. And
Wow.
and because it's very big and I need it to be strong enough to hold, like to let the mecha stand on it without
Right.
like breaking down. So I spent the past few days there's some 3D modeling and then 3D printed the frame, inner frame, supporting it. And right now I'm cutting styrene sheets to like put
Yep.
on the 4
Yeah.
sides. Yeah.
Nice. That explains
And-
what it is. It's not a traffic cone.
Really massive. Well, you can go both to the Air Cadet show and the
Yeah.
Welcome show and have a whole weekend of modeling goodness.
Oh, yeah.
My bad.
As long as I'm still in Ontario, I think I can attend both shows.
You
Yeah.
don't think about bringing it. He's
Yes.
got about, guys, just so you know, he's got about 7 minutes left on his battery. So we'll
Okay.
just let it go
Oh.
till it runs. Sorry.
Okay.
Hey, Frank, you're muted, by the way.
Yeah, Frank's muted. His thing is, but we're not.
Oh,
Otherwise, we
So,
get feedback.
I was expecting to hear a story like he was like Mr. Singh there, dead.
Okay, it just died, I think.
So start when you say there's only
Oh, they can see
7
from ours. Yeah, sorry, guys. Yeah, you'll be okay. Weren't thinking through. You guys will be fine. It's the people here won't see it on the monitors.
Oh, okay. That's
That's
fine.
right. It's Frank's that died, not mine. Okay. So you guys are still good. Right. Where are you gonna put that? See, can you put it on your collar? You can put it.
Kind of put it here probably.
You should put paint on it.
No, I won't paint it, I swear.
Yeah,
'Cause it
we can
doesn't
hear you
have
fine,
boobies,
Ron.
so it doesn't.
They're online.
They'll be on tape.
Okay, but even the ones like in the show? Okay. Okay. Cause I asked you this before and I got that were running around like that. That's why I have been
I have a problem. On scale model.
Yeah.
I can't.
So I still want to confirm my record.
I'll try and remember to bring that up.
Okay, yeah, I'll bring a good stick and.
Yeah. For me, it's just,
I'm trying to catch up on like
think of bringing.
5 different balls or.
No, I don't have.
Sorry, no worries.
To be honest.
Like they added Hamilton to my area. Hearing I, I'm pretty here in London and Hamilton.
I feel you.
Yeah.
When I saw the doctor this week. Here and there, that stuff I don't, but. We're gonna. I'm getting. Now we have someone. Now. You can stick around.
What's that? Yeah. After 5, I think. Yeah.
That's a real, it's a, but it's a really good air. Germans like it, but yeah. When you're piloting, so we party taken and do it. Performance wise. Basically. Yeah. And the thing is, I'm doing a big load for the wife, so I gotta.
Oh, no problem. You can catch it on YouTube.
Okay, take care.
Okay, you too. Yeah.
All right, gentlemen, we'll get started on the demo. Sorry, we're gonna get started on the demonstration. Chair, check on the screen, but
Yeah, come up and grab a chair and come up.
yeah, is there a cable? No, it's wireless. It's fine. what I can do. Are you going here? All right.
Yeah, or you can come in here if you want.
We starting.
Okay. Do a little demo here about miniature painting and things like that. And one thing I'll talk about just very briefly are brushes.
Guys. Thank you.
Yeah, just talk very briefly about brushes. About a year or so ago, I bought this brush here, right? And even after abusing the hell out of it and everything, the point on that is still as sharp as the day it came out of the package, right? And they're Leon Hardy is the brand name, and they're made in Germany. They're pure red sable. And for a while, I had forgotten where I bought it. And finally, I was in Broughdale one day, and lo and behold, that's where I bought them, because he had several others there. But anyway, they're like most pure red sable brushes are like crazy expensive, like, you know, $15, $25 for just small brushes. And these are like about $8 or $9, $10 for a brush. So if you want a good brush, and they have a good variety of them at the last time I was there anyway, at Broughdale. So pick up a few of those, because they're great just for doing your general detail painting on models. And speaking of that, if you're doing detail painting on a model, especially with acrylic paints, right, you tend to like, okay, you pick out a brush like that with a little tiny tip on it, right? And anyway, by the time you dip that in your paint and get it to the model, it's dry, right? So what you have to do is like go with like either a number 1 or a number 2 brush, but with a very fine point, and pick up a good amount of paint on there, wipe off, you know, the excess, and you'll be able to go and paint all your little details, like in a cockpit or whatever, without the paint drying out on the brush. So that's a little tip there for painting detail stuff. So
Do you pre-wet your brush before you put it in? I found that dipping in it with
Yeah.
whatever thinner is. Okay.
yeah, and I always find with most acrylic paints, for brush painting, you really need to thin them a little bit, right? Like about maybe 2/3 paint, one part water. And what I do in my wash up water and my thinning water, I put a couple of drops of flow aid in there, right? Just general purpose flow aid, and the purpose of that is, of course, when you're cleaning your brush, it helps the paint flow out of the brush, right? So when you're cleaning it, because this stuff is, hey, just at the art store, Bijan art store here in town, or Michael's will have it. Yeah, yeah, any type of flow aid at all. Like this one is a concentrated one, like you use like 24 parts water to 1 part of that. So you just, like, all I did, put 4 or 5 drops in there, and that's plenty for your washing up and thinning water. Because, you know, and when I thin the paint, I just dip my brush in there and, you know, thin out the paint. The other thing is too, when you're mixing up your paints, either on like a wet palette like that, or on your you know, piece of plastic or whatever you use for a palette, don't use your fine pointed brushes to mix the paint, right? Use a crappy old brush, right? Mix the paint, then use your fine pointed one for doing the actual painting. Because that's a big mistake, because when you do that, it works the paint right up into those furrows in there and ruins the brush in no time, right? Like I tried really hard not to get any paint any further than like a halfway or 2/3 at the most on the brush when I'm doing any of this stuff. So anyway, there's some new products and things on the market for helping us out with painting different things. And first one I'm going to talk about are paint markers. Now A&K just came out with these real color markers. They got a bunch of different colors, mostly military kind of colors. but they are coming out with game markers, right, which look to be pretty decent. And these are like a fairly fine point, but you know, a big body on them, and they're a felt marker, right? But they do a good job of blocking in colors. And then you go, well, what about doing, like, okay, you can get into certain areas with this, but there are other areas, you know, you're not going to be able to get the brush or the marker in. So what I do is you just take the marker, and I just put this on a bit of blue tack here, like so. Then I can take a brush and touch to the tip of the marker. Now I've got a brush full of paint that I can go in and do my details and stuff with. Right, so.
You're gonna eventually permit.
Oh yeah, of
And-
course,
and put it
yeah.
on the-
Yeah, so like on this fellow here, right, I used the gold marker for all the gold trim, both on like his bit of armor there, and all of the fringe decoration on his robe were all done with this marker. Now these came from Bijan, and they have a 0.7 millimeter tip, and they do have a finer tip available in most of the colors that are in this, and it's amazing, like to how quick you can paint something with this.
What is the correct way?
These here,
What? Press?
well, with these here, these are a pump. You see how it I'm pushing on it, and that tip is moving in and out on a spring.
That's
right?
part of the flow, right? That's part of the-
Yeah, so now what I've got, like some of the paint just came out
Yeah.
there. So once you get it to flow, then it just starts, you know, coming out.
Okay.
And just on here, I'll just do a little bit. And what I like about it, unlike a brush where, you know, the brush wants to fall over this off to the side of something, and this has a hard point on it, you can really tell when you're, you know, have it on an area.
Where do you get those colors? But, oh. Where do you get-
Well, these came from the art store.
John, are these art store? That's Michael?
Well,
Well-
is like professional artist.
Where is it?
It's at
On Mill Street, isn't it? I
Mill
think.
Street, right by Oxford.
Oxford Richmond area of all.
It's behind the side street. It's the one street south of the railroad track. You're going down Richmond. At
Richmond,
Oxford.
you're on Mill Street?
Yeah, they're in that apartment building that's right there. As soon as you
Oh,
cross.
okay.
the
Yeah,
track.
just past the seeps. I go
Opposite
west of
highway.
the seeps. Yeah.
It's just past the sea.
I put it in.
I gotta know.
Yeah, that we all.
I don't know, discovering the east, or the west side of the store. East part of the spot. Two.
You don't know if I'm going down there right now, but. It's suicide.
No, but they have two parking spots available for the store. Right. Yeah.
How the hell did you get down there?
Well, if there's 2 people in there, you have to.
So just like that, I painted like the shoulder, the trim
It works
on
well.
on the
Prime
on that
first?
there. Okay. Oh yeah, you prime first, then like put your, you know, base colors on. Right? Yeah. And then like with this fellow here, I found this gunmetal, A&K gunmetal, to be really nice for, I use that for the armor on this guy here. It looks a lot like steel. All right, so.
So
this
has
one.
anybody tried to clear coat over that?
Oh yeah, you can, yep. Cause all it is, it's just acrylic paint. Yep.
I also see Sharpie just about with paint markers. I just bought a set today. I haven't had a chance to use them.
Yeah.
But they have both a bullet tip, like what he was talking about, and they have like a little brush, which is more like the AK. So I'm just gonna, what they're like, apparently some other modelers around the world have been trying to shape that. I'm pretty impressed. No.
No. No,
Uh,
Posca. And just like that, like I painted that arm on that guy, just using the side of the marker, right? And the other thing you can do, not necessarily with this one, but I think I got a silver one here in the, but for doing like the rivet heads. Right, you can just go in, touch the top of the rivet.
A lot easier to control than a brush.
Yeah. Yeah, like, just like that, right? I just
Yeah.
did the rivets on the arm of that guy.
Yeah. Well, yeah, metal pointer tip. Foam of the paint runs down.
Ron, what thickness is the pen
I
you
end
just
up
did with
losing
the rivets?
Sorry, Kevin?
Yeah.
Asking what
That's what I
thickness
rocket with.
the pen is that Ron just used for the rivets.
Diameter.
This one here?
No, the one you.
Yeah.
Oh,
you
it's
go
it's the A and K one, so it's
Oh,
it's big.
Yeah,
Oh,
but I
okay.
find you have very good control on them, even though it's more like a brush or pen.
Right?
Go to a
got
lot of
it.
detail.
That's an AK pencil or pen?
No, pen, paint
Those
pen.
are the paint pens I've-
They're
AK paint. Oh, that's
real
the real
col-
color marker then.
Yeah, real color markers. Yeah.
Got it. Okay.
But now these ones here, the Posca ones,
Yeah.
they're acrylic paint pens, but they're from the art store. And they have
Okay.
a nylon tip rather than a felt, right? And it's a lot
Okay.
harder.
Yep.
But you have a lot more control over it. And there's a 0.7 millimeter tip on those. So I'm going to be buying more of these in some more different colors. They're more than the A and K markers, right? They're about, I think, $5 or $6 a piece. But I mean, they'll last you a lifetime. I mean, you know, they're chock full of paint. And then they also have another Fabio acrylic markers. And they're similar to the Posca, where they have a nylon tip. And again, it's 0.7 millimeter. And they also include a spare tip. So you know what I'm going to do with that? I'm going to get the scalpel blade of that and make an even finer tip out of that for doing even more detail.
Professor Frank?
Do you find that I've only used the AK one. It's limited. Is there a better like quality among them, or
Not really. And here, if you want, just here, come and take this fellow and this marker and just like that's just a paint mule, right? And just have a go. You know, just paint anywhere on there and then compare it to the A and K, right? So anyway, paint markers and with this young lady here, I did her with
He identifies as horrible.
So anyway, with the real color marker and off white, that's what I did all of the white parts on her with that, right? And then all of the black on her for her stockings and her armor and whatever else she has on there. I used here somewhere.
He never gives up a secret.
Oh,
Hey, oh, ladies,
Yeah.
follow your feet.
I think so. But anyway, I use rubber black on here, which is appropriate, I think, for the sort of like latex or whatever you might want to call some of her uniform. And then once those base colors are on, again, I use my little setup here to hold the marker and dip, you know, the paint brush on the tip to get into the smaller areas and everything. And I mean, you know, in a couple of hours, I had her blocked out with the basic paint all over. Because all of these tentacles, arms, you know, legs, and various other creepy parts that she has were all done with that off white first. And then I went at this new product that they have out. is called Villainy ink. And it's actually not an ink, but it's an enamel wash. And what guys were starting to do to get like sort of this grim, dark, really grim and horrible colors and everything like you see on these things, they were using streaking grime from A&K. And one of the YouTube channels, a guy on there, it's called the Grim Dark Compendium. He came out with his own line of paints. Now, these are enamel paints, but what he's got done to them, he's got a flattening agent in them so that they'll dry flat rather than like when you thin out oil paints, you know, a lot of times it leaves, you know, the sort of satin or even gloss when they dry, right? So he's added a flattening agent to that. And then in some of them, he's got a real coarse pigment in them that leave little flecks and dots. And especially like say in this red, this it's called carrion crimson, right? And that's used a lot on like the flesh tones. So it leaves like little natural pimples and blemishes, you know, like really, really tiny, small variations. Also, this stuff is very well pigmented and it settles like Humbrol paint in the bottom of this thing. So you got to put a couple of mixing balls in there. And then with my newfangled little mixer that I bought, which is a great little thing, rather than having to push down, you know, and hold this for minutes, because it does, like, you can't hear the balls in there. And I mean, you got to shake the hell out of it. But this thing does it in no time.
What's the thing at the heart? Where'd you get it and what's the brand name?
This?
Yeah.
Amazon, and it was like 120 bucks. But it's got all ball bearings in it. It's gonna last forever. And you don't have, and it runs for 2 minutes and shuts off. And it'll shake up to, I think they said 100 mils you can put in there. And that's only on half speed. Like with the smaller bottles, like say with, you know, Vallejo or the Citadel that I transfer over to the dropper bottles, you can go a little bit faster. Something bigger in there, you put it a little bit slower, or it, you know, kind of goes all over the place. It's got suction cups on it, right? Like, I mean, I can almost like, you know, it sticks on there pretty good.
The other kind is.
And see, now you can hear the,
That you gotta hold it down. I like it, I get a finger massage.
yeah, but when you,
Yeah, when you do it for a while.
yeah, and when you're going through this stuff, switching back and forth. And also with these inks, they're like transparent, right? So you can do like really nice layering. So like all of the blending of the colors that you see on here, it was done with this carrion crimson for the red part. And then no, not that one. That one. Decay of Death, which is a sort of a green color was used. Fenris Workshop in Quebec carries it. And so I ordered it online from there. And it was for the set of 7 inks, it was 114 bucks. Right. But they're, you know, a 1 ounce bottle lasts you forever, you know. And the colors, like I say, I haven't even used all of the colors on some of these builds yet. But like on her again. And then I started to get some of the brown shading and everything on there. Oh, first what I did, I bought one of these calligraphy nib pens and dipped it in some, this is a Citadel shade paint, like a purple color. And, you know, dipped it in some of that, drew it on a piece of paper first till I got the size of the, and that's the finest tip that they had there. So I was able to do veins on a lot of the tentacles and very arms and everything on here with this. And then, oh no, never. He wouldn't let me in the store anymore, probably. But anyway, that works good, like for doing any kind of fine lining with anything. And it was like, that was less than $5 for the nibs and the holder, so it was like a pretty good deal. Odorless mineral spirits, right? I bought this Gamsol from Bijan, and but any odorless mineral spirit, or even if you don't mind the smell, or you got like a place where you're working where it's taking it away, you're okay. But here's something to remember: just because this is odorless doesn't mean that it's not going to get in your lungs, because it's still giving off. It's evaporating, right? So what I usually do with it, like I never put anything into a big open container, right? Like I clean that out, but this is what I use for cleaning the brushes, and that's just odorless paint thinner from the hardware store. Okay, but for thinning this stuff, I use this stuff here, which I put in my pretty little skull eyedropper bottle. All right. You gotta be.
Every day. Quite the network, bro. You guys.
Oh yeah, yeah. And where these come from, these are actually gaming pieces, right? But like where I buy them, it's a place called My Mini Factory. And there's two different outfits that make these things and create the files. And I mean, what they do, they're doing game pieces that will go with like D&D, Dungeons and Dragon or Pathfinder, anything like that. So when you buy, like, say, the full set of figures to print, it comes with all the rules for each figure and everything, so you can use them in the game. But they're definitely not like the Games Workshop, like say like the Tyranids that are like, really creepy looking creatures, but Games Workshop paint them pink and purple and make them look like Barney, right? Because the kids are, a big part of their market, right? So, but if you go like to any of the fan art and even the Games Workshop art, like in their books and everything, it's pretty dark and grim and gory, some of the stuff, right? And so one of the companies, they sell over 700 miniatures that you can buy individually, and another company has about 900, right? And so far I've bought like about 10 files, and like she cost me, plus the resin for printing, $18.
Your soul.
And my soul, yes. Well, that was gone long ago. No, she had her arm was separate and her head, right?
You have to clean it up.
Not really, no. It leaves like some little marks here and there, but these models are pre-supported, so I don't have to go in and do all of that in my printing program. And where they place the supports and everything, they hide them pretty good, right? So that when you do, pop that thing off of the support, which there are hundreds of them going to the model when you print it, but they don't leave marks in areas where you can see very well. They're usually underneath. And if you can't see them, little dab of filler, job done. Yeah. Yeah, like here's the print that I did for Stuart. But if you look on the back side of that guy, I'll pass them around. On the back side, you'll see little marks because it hasn't been cleaned up yet. Yeah, so did you guys have a go with that marker?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's still making its way.
Okay. Oh, wonderful. Yeah. Did you give them a try?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, yeah.
Funny that I was in here, the computer
metal figurines
Yeah.
are all gone.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Right? Even these are hard to find because everybody's printing their own characters.
Yeah,
Oh, that's scaled up.
yeah.
Scaled up. asked you to
I
scale it.
scaled that up from 32mm up to 54mm scale.
I'm getting old.
Yeah. And that's what I do with all of these things. I scaled them up from the gaming size so that they're easier just for, you know, to do for painting, right? So I'm going to show you how one of these inks work. Like you see this brass trim I got on here. Like if you look at this guy, all of the brass on here, I did with this, there you go. This decay of death, which actually looks like the patina that you see on like copper and brass, that green color. It's perfect for that, right? So basically what I made up here, I was tired of this little pallet flopping around on the bench, tipping over and everything. So I hot glued it onto a bit of foam core board and then put a clip on there to hold a paper towel for wiping the brush off. Job done, right? So anyway, all you do with this stuff is after I've shaken it and the devil out of it in there.
So do you start with one color primer on that everything or?
Yeah, it's just gray primer on there and then I go from there, right? And where this stuff is so heavily pigmented, it clogs up the tip of these eyedropper things quite a bit. Got to open that up. I'll just take 2 drops of that. And they recommend to thin this like 1-to-1 kind of thing.
And so what kind of, that the enamel thinner?
Yeah, it's an enamel wash or what these are. They're not true inks. So yeah, mineral spirits. Right, so that's well, this stuff here. So then I just 2 drops of that. So that's our 1-to-1. And for this, I don't need a fancy brush, just, and what I do too, I use different brushes for the oils than what I do for the acrylics. Just to keep them from contaminating one another. And I never use any of those fine sable brushes with the oils. So on this here, this is the base that goes with that figure there. So I'm just going to paint. I mean, I'm just pretty much slopping this on here into the brass trim. Just do one section here. Good old hair dryer. And when you're doing a wash, don't hold it too close or it'll blow the wash out of all the recesses and everything. You gotta kind of stand back a little bit with it first. But the mineral spirit, and I think they got a bit of a drying attitude in this stuff too, because it only takes a few minutes of doing this and it's totally dry.
I've also used my airbrush.
Yeah.
For the glass that is nonsense, don't get too close to the power. Where's that space in the middle? Okay.
What's that?
Are you trying that now because you want?
exactly, yeah.
If you were done your session, you could do that.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And also, this stuff takes about 2 days to dry pure fully. Like I go back like the next day and I can continue on where I started off. And even with the paint that's in those, in the palette, I can rejuvenate just by adding another little drop of thinner to it. I can go ahead. But when I dry this, right, like it starts out with this, like, if you come up and look at that, it's just a green liquid, but it turns into this whitish, greenish, powdery stuff, like you would see on copper and whatnot. Oh, yeah, yeah. Well, priming and then in some cases base coating.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You ever tried doing like? Where you're doing.
Oh, zenithal, I did it on her. Like I painted, primed it gray first with Stino Res primer, which works great on my on the resin prints. And then I used Rose Brown by Vallejo Model Color, which is kind of a, you know, just a pinkish, a light, sort of a medium pink color. And I did her all over with that. And then from the top, I did some painting with some white. And then I went ahead over top of all that with this off-white marker or the black marker for yeah, like, well, to make it so that like your highlights are lighter than, and like if when I had done her from the top, if you turn and look up, it was all pink, right? But looking at it from the top, it looked white, but so it gives you good, you know, some shadows to start with.
Yeah, trying to imitate sunlight.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah.
subtle effect, very cool.
Yeah, and I'll pass this around like that right there. Just hold it by that bottle. Fine. You can see where I put that green on there. How old and crappy it made that look like instantly.
Yeah, right here.
Yep. I use, Citadel makes technical paints for different things, right?
So I knew exactly.
Yeah. And this technical paint is called Blood for the Blood God.
There you go.
I kid you not. And so that is what you see, like where she's got her hand through the guy's guts. All of that shiny red is that stuff.
It's Halloween, guys.
Yeah, close on it, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, technical paint. Who else? AK makes some, in our army paint, makes some effects, what they call effect paint.
Yeah.
Similar idea, sometimes thicker texture. They got one that does mud, you know.
You want to go to Ross, get this typical type of. Good for a base. It's good.
Yeah, and there's also a rust color in these villainy inks too. And this one here is called Goons Grime, and it's basically like the A&K streaking grime, right? Just kind of a brownish, you know, greenish kind of color.
How would you apply that?
This stuff here? No, what you do with it, like, this is mostly a reductive process that we use on here. Like what I'll do with that base that's going around that I just did the brass on, is I will take a Q-tip or makeup sponges, dip them in a little bit of the mineral spirits, and then wipe over the top, right, to expose, like, so that it looks like it's kind of worn, you know, and green patina. And then the same with all of this coloring on here, you start out brushing on a layer of it and drying it with the hair dryer, then using the Q-tip to reactivate in the areas where you want to remove it. Right, so that's the important thing about all of that. Like say with this guy here, once that base white color was done on there, then I did the whole figure overall with this crimson color, right? Dried it, and then went in and carefully removed where I didn't want, you know, too much red. I wanted the red to stay in all the crevices and everything. And the other thing about this stuff, oh, sorry. Yeah. The other thing about this stuff too, you can combine different colors, right? Like on her, all of these weird colors that are on like the back of her head and in like the purplish colors, that's just done with two colors, that green and the red. And all of those colors that you see in there were all created from that, right? Which is crazy, right? Because what I did with her, you know, was all white in those areas. Then I went over it with, yeah, just this purple shade paint by Citadel. And so it went into the crevices a little bit and just gave kind of a pink tone. But then I went with this stuff on it. And then that really brought out, and then hit it here and there with some green. And the same on the white parts of her, you'll see some areas where there's green, it almost looks like, you know, discolored flesh. And that again was done with, you know, this green kind of shade. What's that? Rainbows.
When you're on, you're gonna print off a My Little Pony figurine and do it. I can get you a Care Bear.
It's come out demented anyway.
Yeah, I'll make a, what is it like well, there's a two horror movies out, it's like Winnie the Pooh, right? And he's like on this murderous rampage.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah. So anyway, this figure here is the next one up, and I'll pass him around for you guys to have a look at. Not at all. No, I just like painting the figures, right? Yeah. Yeah, and I'll pass this around. This guy is called the abhorrent mage.
He's called Bob.
Yeah. But what I'm going to do with him, I'll pass this around as well. Like I printed off these like maggot piles to use. To use as you know, test subjects, right? So you can pass that around. So that's going to be the color of the cape on this guy and the color of the flesh that you see.
Frank, Frank, I think we need to get out of this before.
No, it's winter is a great time to be in the basement.
Tinder profile is in search of a girl with 4 boobs now.
Yeah, that's not going to work well. But anyway, I take a lot of reference from movies, you know, Alien and Predator. Like look at the carnage in those, like especially in Predator with those guys with no skin on them hanging from the trees, right? Like what could be grosser than that, right? So, you know, And I am gonna buy some files for some stuff that's even creepier than this, believe it or not.
But the techniques lend themselves, right? So.
Yeah,
What you do with this, I do figure painting, that my son's figures, I did all of his, now he paints, but same thing, I use the technique one to go to my scale kit. Like right now, I have a Pacific Rim Gundam figure. Got a big sword, so I'm gonna have him up in paint, 7 second scale in that. And the big thing in the Warhammer, Ron knows, because we talk about this when we hang out regularly. Big thing in the Warhammer is creating glow, where they will like, they'll do a tank, right? One of their tanks by a melta, a lava gun, so they'll paint it white and they blow it right. So it's glowing. So I'm going to do a tank half of the edges glowing from the heat of the blade sort of thing. Or I could find that. This one I already have, like I said, already got the anti-kit. So all of that.
yeah, that's already cleaned and primed. Yeah. Yeah.
I use the same techniques actually to do that pilot. To me, a pilot build like this.
And here's another thing that I found too, like with the Citadel shade colors. When you put those over like a matte paint, right? They tend to stain, right? And you don't get time to blend them out, right? With these enamel washes, you got all the time in the world to remove some of the paint, add more if you need to, remove it totally if you don't like it, right? But the thing I do is if I want these inks to like leave some of the color on, I'll use a matte paint because it will stain, right? Like when you're doing armor and you use filters, right, to alter the color, right, on a armored vehicle or what have you, even on a plane. I mean, guys do that, right? So but you can control that because if you switch over to a satin rather than a matte varnish, right, then that stain, it doesn't stain as much. And plus you can move the paint around a bit more because it's a smoother surface. And oil paint, you can really move around, right? Like for hours, you can play around with the oil paint. And then if you really want to move it around and not stain the original color, use gloss varnish, right? So like say on this one here, as soon as I had like both the black and the off-white done and just just your basic blocking in of colors right before you start doing any of the details, I hit that with satin varnish because I didn't want to stain that white too much, right? And of course in some cases, right, it wasn't quite, it stained it a little bit, so wait for it to dry overnight, then go back in with the off white, paint it again. You can correct fairly easily. But with this stuff here, what I found, if you mix this up with a little bit of glaze medium from Vallejo, right? Like I would say, like maybe 2 drops of paint to 1 drop of the glaze medium, and then a little touch of water just to thin it out a little bit more. Because what this does, it thins out the paint, or sort of thins out the paint, but without losing the consistency of it, right? It makes it more transparent. You can take like a solid color and adding this to it, you can make it semi-transparent, right? But what it does too, this has got a bit of retarder in it because it's used for glazing, which is a slow kind of process of layering, a bit at a time. So I found by adding a little bit of that to this, I can brush the stuff out and blend it a lot better. So that's a good hint to know if you're using this stuff for doing any kind of shading or washes, that you can make it almost like an oil paint by using this stuff in it. Yeah. Okay. Well, anyway, just to sum up, so these are some new, new things on the market. I really like these markers. Like this guy here, I painted him in 8 days. Okay, she took 9. Right, this guy took about a week and a half for that fellow there, because it's just a lot more detail and stuff to do on it. And that wasn't spending like 12 hours a day just going crazy. A few hours here and there. Like I bet you if I were to spend like 8 or 10 hours a day, you could have a figure done like in 2 or 3 days.
You. 5 hours.
Oh yeah.
With me.
Yeah.
Holy shit, Frank, I gotta go eat. Finish for 5 hours.
If you're on our page.
Yeah.
There's so many reviews out there on these.
Yeah, and I was going to say about like YouTube is the place to go. Like if you're wanting to paint an army, go there, learn about the speed paints and contrast paints and all that sort of stuff, right? But if you're just doing one-off figures, you don't have to go that speed paint route. But I use all of those techniques that I've seen the guys on YouTube, take a bit from there, a bit from there, like you do with anything you see on YouTube. Go to different sources and take, what you can use, right? And then I turn it into my own method of doing it, right?
Don't be afraid to fail.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Don't take
no,
it too
and
serious.
and like with this stuff, hey, it's only paint. Like let the frickin' thing dry overnight and prime it the next day and go again, right? With the stuff. So any. I'm surprised they haven't banned me yet, right? Like they seem to ban anybody that puts anything on there at all.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Well, I mean, I'm gonna say like, Ron and I would like things out, Ron and I hang out a lot on Discord. We've got our Discord server up. There's a couple other Discord rooms that we hang out with the guys. Ron's actually given some people who I thought were pretty good 3D printers tips that they didn't know, and they're like, Ron guy knows stuff. Hey, we're underestimating the power of a new. So, if you're doing stuff, if you're not sure, right, like I said, comfortably, you can use Windows browser to get into Discord. Join the room.
Yeah, please, guys, especially guys that are retired or, like a lot of time on the weekends. I mean, Saturday and Sunday mornings is like when I like to go on there. But you can jump on there anytime, because I check that always in the morning, right? Like, because I'm usually up between 6 and 7 o'clock, and that's when I start. That's my favorite time to do my model stuff, right? Is in the morning, have my cup of coffee, a cigarette going, and I paint away, right?
He keeps the well ventilated room.
Yes. Yeah.
The door.
Yeah. And like I was saying about this stuff, if you're using this orderless thinner stuff, make sure you're, got a bit of ventilation. Because I found one day I was using like a little dish, ceramic dish, about so big, and putting a bunch of thinner in there. And of course, after a couple of hours, it evaporated. But I noticed my throat was, kind of hurting a bit, and I'm going, okay. So ever since then, I've been, not using it so much open.
I just know if I ever see you in the builder, all of a sudden just straight open.
Yeah, yeah, that means I've reached the 14% or whatever it is of fuel to oxygen.
Yeah, you reach the lower explosive limit. There you go.
Yeah.
Oh,
No.
Only.
Shows this month.
Yeah.
Are you going to any? Well,
Haircut Con is on Saturday. I'm not going. I was. No, I can't go. Right.
Mhm.
Not going. I'm hoping to go to Welcome. I've never been to that one. So that one's in a couple weeks. Yeah, Haircut Con, no, I was going to. I was all set to go. Yeah. Plus it's Phil's birthday. Yeah. So, yeah, he left already. Pre-filmed it, as opposed to when I sent him the email. But his wife caught it, texted me, so he knows about it? No, because.
Surprise party.
When Phil's wet. Oh, but I saw Bill have it. Yeah, so.
But definitely, guys, try out markers for doing stuff. I saw a YouTube, yeah, a YouTube video. A guy did like a whole Panzer, like in the tricolor camo, right? You know, the red, the tan, green, and brown. And he did that all with markers on a 156 scale, you know, war game vehicle. And this thing looked like it was like a, you know, like he did it with an airbrush. I mean, they dry really nice.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
Yes, you are.
That's it. And here's your mic.
Also, this